All right, welcome back to Monday's special town hall, coming to you live here on Citizen TV from Daystar University, and we are discussing the gender bill that is currently before Parliament. And ladies, before we went on that break, there were many questions that had been asked, but I promised to talk about this bill, and I had some lawyers say that the Mativo decision was for this law to be implemented in 60 days, if I remember, and he even said that, you know, it amounted to a violation of women's rights, and because at the moment we're dealing with the shortage of women in the house and all that. But now we have a proposed law that essentially defers the implementation of this to 2022. Okay, because if this thing passes on Wednesday, those new women that will nominate will not come tomorrow, if I understood it correctly. And that secondly, even if we were to pass the bill and you did a total count of all the members of Parliament going by the current numbers, you would still have fewer women than one-third of the entire membership of the House. So what problem, what question is this bill trying to answer? And I start with the nearest lawyer that I can find.
Sure. You're right. We are at a stage in time in the process where we are actually staring down at that there could be a chance where Parliament could be dissolved, and that is both the National Assembly as well as the Senate. And the reason being, as we said, the Constitution on the principle of the two-thirds gender rule is very clear. And as we stand today, the Parliament, meaning both the National Assembly as well as the Senate, have not been able to meet that threshold. That is why we now have what we are calling the Duale bill that will be voted on, hopefully on Wednesday of this week. And the reason for that is to cure this issue. In the amendment, it's a constitutional amendment. In that bill, the implementation will not happen right now, but when the next Parliament comes into place in 2022. And as we stand right now, the National Assembly is short of about 22 women, not about, but 22 women. And the Senate is 2 women. So we could even... But
that's only if you look at the elected members of Parliament. The total membership of the National Assembly is 349, and if you do the math, it's 117 women if we were to meet the one-third. So in a sense, we are saying that even with this bill passing on Wednesday, assuming it does, someone could still petition the CJ and President and say, well, dissolve this Parliament is still short of the one-third that we need.
No, what we are saying, in the spirit of give and take, instead of basing the one-third number based on the total membership, we are really, in the National Assembly, we are going to base it on the because we are also amending that part of the Constitution, so that we would be basing it on the 290 constituency seats. Because those are the only seats where technically those elected are either one-third or two-thirds or whatever, or less or more. So in the National Assembly, we would only be basing it on the 290, so that we also don't have an extremely large number of women to be nominated, which then goes back to the issue of the public wage. In the Senate, we would not be basing it on the 67, which is the current membership, but on the 47, because for each senator, there is one county, which is 47 counties. And the extra to make it 67 are generally women, other than 2. So we are not going to be basing it on the total membership, but on those elective constituencies, meaning the counties or the constituencies in the National Assembly.
But that will have to wait for 2022.
True, and it in that amendment, in that Duale bill, that is included there. We would be amending those numbers so that we are starting off at 290 and at 47.
Yes,
Joe, I realized that you talked about the 349. I don't know whether as much as you're talking about one-third, you're forgetting that there are 23 elected women, and 47 is an affirmative seat. There's no way you can put an affirmative seat on another affirmative seat. So that is why you deduct the 47,
no, I understand that
you deduct the 23.
But the plain reading of Article 81 seems to suggest to me that if you counted 1, 2, 3, all the members of that house, that one-third of them should be of the other gender, at least one-third.
Well, Joe, if okay, the Article 81, is it A, the one that talks about the 349, but the elective seats, which ones are they?
It talks about elective bodies, and I imagine that is Parliament, isn't it? Please, someone help me here on the panel as well. Honorable Odhiambo, maybe you could weigh in on this.
Well, what I can say is that there are some points that we will have to leave for interpretation for the Supreme Court. Why? Because it's something that we've gone back and forth as lawyers, that when we're talking about affirmative action and original parliament that is constituted of, what we call the single constituencies, where men fight out with women or men against men, but mainly it's free for all. The free for all seats are 290. So assuming we didn't have the 47, it means once these 290 are elected, then you'd be saying what is the number that is needed to get the 1/3 of women. That is the approach we have taken. And if we took that, then we'd be saying we have put 47 plus another 22 will make it 1/3. But when we wait and add 47, that is an affirmative action seat, then we might actually be adding this number ad infinitum. And that is why we said that if we pick 290, I know we are even disagreed with some people on this, because there are people who want to go on the bigger number. But I think this is for us as a start. It will be good if we go by the 290 and then leave it for interpretation for the Supreme Court.
Okay.
But at the very beginning, really, 290 is the single constituencies that we know of that are gazetted, and the 47 were brought in to cure the anomaly.
Then let me combine your response to some questions that are coming from the floor right now.
Kabla ya kwenda kwa maswali kutoka hapa, kuna mmoja ambaye ametuma ujumbe katika mtandao wa Twitter. Swali lake linaelekezwa kwa wakili Nyokabi. Anasema, we are not comparing ourselves with East African countries on this issue. We are already overrepresented. If they need more nominations, let them pass a legislation to bring down the number of constituencies, counties and wards. Several people who've raised this issue about the wage bill. Is there any way of implementing this 2/3 gender rule without making the wage bill go up?
And Teresia, you'll also respond to it after.
Let me both. The first one on the bill itself. Remember, this is Duale 2. We already had Duale 1, which was 2/3 of 349, and it didn't pass through the House. So that's criticism around the numbers and why you're putting affirmative action on affirmative action is what led us to Duale 2. So this is the second attempt. So there has to be changes from Duale 1, which already didn't get the vote, to Duale 2. So that's why, and the change really can be explained even at Supreme Court. But the numbers will then be done after the election. Even the question of when to start is a question I think the judges are going to have an opinion on. Justice Mativo or any other judge can then have an opinion. Do we continue with the House that is unconstitutional when a mechanism around it has been passed? But those are questions for the court. On the question of East Africa and why we compare ourselves, it is not only in the basis of gender equality. Countries are competing for development. We are competing with Rwanda for foreign direct investment, cost of doing business. So it's many competitions that we are involved in. In football, for example, everybody wants our country to be out there. On matters of gender equality, we don't want to be the last in the region, and there are many other.
But their point is that we shouldn't compare with them because we are overrepresented, and they seem to have the right number of MPs.
But the overrepresentation, and that's a question around our transformative constitution. The constitution itself wanted everybody at the table. Remember, we are a country that had post-election violence, and post-election violence was the reason of exclusion, that we were excluding too many other people, minorities, persons with disability, young people. So the fight that we have now is not just gender equality, it's actually a fight for inclusion on many fronts. Minorities, and I like the question that Adalia came in on, minorities, persons with disability, the youth, and there will be other legislations after this that are going to then bring in the numbers of young people and all others. And then the last one also on the wage bill. The cost for this implementation is only 282 million. Per capita, it's coming to 6 shillings per citizen. What we are not accounting for in NYS, not accounting for in elections, not accounting for in education, 282 million will only add, it won't even add 0.1% of the parliamentary budget. The parliamentary budget is 1.5.
That's only because right now we know the number that is elected.
So
Next time it might be only
even then, we won't go beyond what is already provided for parliament, because parliament is already 1.5%. So it's going to stay round around what we already are providing for representation.
Great. Teresa.
I think many studies have been done, you know, to confirm this. Our Institute of Economic Affairs did a study and confirmed how much Kenyans would spend if we added more women in parliament. Because now we are talking about if we added more women today, because it's women we need to add. Tomorrow it might be men we need to add. So studies have been done.
Yeah, it's already feeling very lonely here. So
yes, it's already, exactly. So time will come when the tables can change. But I think we should stick on the principle. All we are saying is that not more than 2/3 of any elected or appointed body should have more than, 2/3 of the same gender. So if today Kenyans agree that we want a parliament of 100 members of parliament, just ensure that out of the 100, not more than 2/3 is of the same gender. If you decide today you're going to have 500 members of parliament, at the end of the day, not more than 2/3. So this debate of taxpayers, punda amechoka, it's just sideshows.
All right, you know, let's go back there.
Yes.
Run. Okay, my name is Amran Wardere from Isiolo County. I am proposing this 2/3 gender bill because personally coming from a patriarchal community where women are seen to be less than men, and where women are portrayed to be lesser than men, I believe that a fair share in the distribution of political slots will help us and eradicate the historical injustices and societal norms that prevents and undermines women when it comes to going for elective posts and going for appointive positions. Thank you, Amran. Margaret Murage.
My name is Margaret Murage. I propose this bill. First and foremost is because this bill is only set up for only 20 years. It's going to create a momentum to elect women and neutralize the injustices we face and the patriarchal nature we have in our country and culture which believes women are lesser. And let's not forget, when a woman rises in power, her energy is magnetic and her success is contagious. That's why when the last 5 years we had affirmative seats, we produced senators like Kihika, whom we didn't have, 3 governors, which was quite amazing, and a bigger number of women in parliament. We only knew people like Millie and a few others. And I believe since a woman is a full circle, she has the power to create, nurture, and transform. When more women are elected in the positions, I believe we're going to transform even these unfair practices we have during elections, these social evils of corruption we are unable to solve, since women are caring, they are nurturing, and they have the issues of everybody at heart, since women were created being soft and caring. Thank you.
Mpole lakini anatoa point kweli. Hebu mpigeni makofi. Mheshimiwa Shamali.
Thank you. My question is directed to Honorable Millie Gesa. I'm concerned, and I ask this question tonight. Are we abetting a nation of anarchy and lawlessness? And the reason is because in this 1 week, I have seen police officers being attacked on 2 different incidences, traffic police officers by the public. And I've asked myself, we're not these are not ragtag militias. These are police officers of a civilized democratic state. And now we have it. It's very clear in our constitution what the principles are with regards to this debate we are having. But we are ready to throw everything out, and are we saying we have no respect for the rule of law? Is this what is happening to Kenya today?
Honorable Millie.
Thank you. I'd want to agree very largely with Jennifer. First of all, I would say, really, I didn't see the second one, but I saw one where a gentleman was actually fighting a policeman. And I was horrified. I know a lot of times the police think we don't support them, but I think when you get into that level, it's not really correct that you take the law in your own hands and fight a police who is the symbol of authority. But I remember just yesterday, I came this morning from Subanon, and I was engaging with the police and the security team, especially on the issue of border that is creating a lot of problems all over the country. And they were saying, but we have strict laws that must be followed. But then the border people are also challenging. They are saying, but even if you have the strict laws, but there are some that are not being followed, including the gender one. So we are giving the country very mixed signals. We are telling them it's okay to violate some and to follow some. They will not follow you. They'll tell you if it is easy to bend, then also bend for us these traffic ones. Because if at the constitutional level we can bend the gender one, then why are we being so hard on a border person just because he does not have a reflector, which is a lower piece of legislation, and we are violating a constitutional provision. If we want to be a country of law-abiding citizens, then we need to start abiding at the constitutional level. So it's not just about an issue of following the Constitution, but also inculcating a culture of respecting the Constitution.
All right. So one more question that I have had asked out here, and like I said, tonight is the night to clear all these issues that I've had people say. That fine, we can agree we are going to nominate the women. Who is going to nominate them? Someone said it probably will be some men sitting in a room somewhere and saying, tukiangalia huko, this is the right one, this is the right one. So that at the end of the day, it might not be the kind of women that would do the things that we think extra women will do in Parliament, but rather it will be women who are chosen for whatever reason by those people who are going to be there. And that is based on the experience that has been there of the nominations that we have seen so far. Is that a fair charge, Senator Kihika?
Joe, I actually believe it's a very unfair charge. And the reason that I say it's an unfair charge, like we said before, it seems women, we have a different way of looking at women versus men. We don't hear that same argument when we hear about nominated men. But back to the women, we can look at the history that we've had that has gotten us to this point. We talked a little bit here about our colleague here, Honorable Millie. She was once nominated, now she is elected by the people, and she has done so much work as a legislator. Okay, that's Millie. In the Senate, I can talk about the Deputy Majority Leader, who is Fatuma Dulo from Isiolo. And we've had ladies here talk about how it's extremely difficult to get women elected in those areas. Fatuma Dulo was previously nominated as a senator, and now she was elected as one of only 3 elected women senators. So clearly, we do have women who are nominated, who are of quality, and who the people then believe should be able to be voted in and represent them. Back to Sophia as well. Sophia Abdi was once nominated, now elected in that very difficult community as far as women elections. We have Lesuda in the Samburu community. We have Sarah. We have Leshomo. So we see a lot of examples. In my own county, Nakuru County, we have Honorable Lisa Chelule, who is the women rep. She was previously nominated as a nominated senator in the last term, and now she is elected in Nakuru County, a very cosmopolitan county, as the women rep. We also have Honorable Wangari, who was previously nominated as a senator in the last term, but now is elected as a single constituency MP in Gilgil, Nakuru County. So I can give you endless examples of the kind of quality that we have of these nominated women, that in the end, people also see the kind of work they're doing, and so they have promoted them actually by voting them in to go represent them. I do not believe they would be voting them back in to represent them if they were not of good, if their work was not of good quality.
So yes, Mheshimiwa Kirichi, what is it then that these women do not initially have that they get when they get nominated, and now they can get elected? Because that's the opportunity
Joe,
to do what?
I said it's an
Because
opportunity.
they might still be subjected to the violence
No,
and
it's
to the abuse that you talked about. What changes?
Joe, for example, when I did not even before I vied or before I had even the chance to do it, first I had to be elected somewhere like in the church so that I would hold a microphone and talk to the people, and I would always get a chance to speak to the people because I'm one of the leaders. So if, for example, we go to any meeting as politicians, the nominated ones are equally given a chance to speak to the people the same way we do. That's how they express themselves, and also they get a chance even to be able to maybe at least get something. Like now, for example, we are distributing sanitary towels around the country. So even the nominated ones will be given the chance to go and distribute. So when their community sees them, when they do some they do some legislation in Parliament, their people will notice them. But if they don't get that chance, how will they ever even be known that they can do something that can be that can be held and they can be held accountable to what they've been doing? Also, please allow me to answer one question that you asked about the how they are going to be selected or nominated, and also about the slave queens. I want to believe everybody in this room was brought up in the village somewhere. And they went to school, and after going to school, we came to town because maybe after we came to university, we came to work or whatever. So I don't know how who is giving this definition of a slave queen and loiterers of the city. This thing, I don't think it is really unfortunate that we have people that can say such things, especially people who are even claiming to be doctors. I am so sorry that Kenyans can be led even to believe that there will be a problem. First, enact. There are 48 legislations, that were supposed to be enacted after the 2010 Constitution. We have done 47. This one that is gender, and because it's a women that has disadvantaged not to be in it, it's a problem. But if it was the men, my friend Joe, I am sure it would already have been done.
Teresia, before we go to the floor.
Okay. One of the proposals that we have given as FIDA, and even in the case that we've had in court, is that get the next best winner. So if, for example, in Nakuru County, it was a gentleman who won, and the second person who didn't win is a woman, when it comes to nomination, IEBC should be able to provide that list and say these were the second best winners. So you see, that's also one formula. But that's just one example. We can come up with a legislation and say the ones who will be nominated as women need to have this qualification. And I don't think there's a qualification in Kenya that no woman has. So, and you remember there was even a time we were challenged and said, women do not want to come up to be even appointed, in public offices. And we said, we have a list. We have a list. How many women do you want? We will give you. So there's this assumption that the society is being given that we don't even have a basket of these women who are qualified. It's kind of like there are so many women out there who are not qualified. There's a whole lot of women in this country who are qualified, and there are different methodologies.
Let's get one last round of questions, then we can come back.
Dafin kidogo anaona kile ambacho umesema lazima ajibu.
I beg to disagree with you on that. When you say we take the second best winners as a criteria to nominate women, what happens? I stand to vie, she stands to vie, but I'm not voted on the fact that I have a bad record or people don't love me. Then that underscores that criteria. I think it is your duty to come with a better criteria. But on the second best winner, some are not elected on the virtue that they're looked under the microscope and they don't meet the threshold to be a leader.
Joe, I need to clarify on the issue of the second best winner. Like when you go for elections, I'm talking about you've gone for elections, and whatever constituency, for whatever reason, the winner is a David somewhere with 100 votes. And the second best, which we have seen in this country, is a woman candidate who probably got 80-something, 85. So we are saying, instead of going out to say, okay, let's start afresh, let's have parties. The political parties already have women who they had given in their list at IBC when they went for elections. So start from those ones who have already come up. But that's just a proposal. It's not that it must be the only way of getting nominated women, because we want to do away with this aspect of they shall just be picking of women from everywhere. No, it will be women who have brought themselves out for elections, who are qualified, and they meet the criteria that is also provided in the Constitution.
But I think what Daphne is saying is that it's not just about the second person is a woman and she has qualified, that if the people look and say, this woman does not have the qualities we want, then that criteria would not work in that sense.
It's
Would
not
you
about
then
that
nominate
we've
someone?
rejected this person
Yeah.
and you're nominating them.
No, I think it's not
Rejected the person with 85,000 votes.
votes. That's what I'm saying.
That is a good rejection. That's basically what she's saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There must be a good rejection of 85,000.
Yeah,
That's a good
It's a
rejection.
good number. I mean, imagine
Okay,
a
this
woman.
is obviously a debate that
Yeah.
can go on for a while.
No, but
so
just
let's-
Joe, one last thing. I'm saying, imagine women who have actually gone through campaign, they've gone through the violence, they've gone through all that, and they've made it to the last point, and they got elected. Even if they got 2 votes, they've worked so hard through the process. They have been gone through the criteria of IBC. So we are saying there will be a pot for you to pick from. So it won't be this idea that we are being given that it will just be people picking whoever they are picking, their sisters or their aunties. No, there will be a criteria.
Joe, can I just say something about that? Yeah. I think we are also forgetting that we are also parliamentarians.
Yeah.
The Constitution provides the broad principles and framework, but then it is up to us as parliamentarians to provide a criteria. And when that time comes, we will look at all options. Maybe there's a wonderful option amongst all the people here and some, even the people who are not here, that we have not heard about. So somebody has some brilliant idea somewhere that we can put into that law, which then comes after the passage of the constitutional one.
Okay,
but I
great.
don't think we can run
Great.
out
At
of
least
ideas
it's a great
of
thing that
of-
that kind of debate will happen at a certain
Yes.
point.
Tutamaliza na Charlene.
Hello. My name is Charlene Grace Wamboy. I come from Murang'a County. And when I look at the women around here, I see fighters. And when people say that women are weaklings, I beg to differ with them totally. Because we've seen women who have brought themselves up and they've contested. Some of them have failed and some of them have gotten the seats. I'll take an example of Nyeri County. When people say that women don't come out and vie, an example is Nyeri County, where in each and every ward there was a woman contestant, either in an MCA, MP, or any other post. But they did not get the chance to get that docket or, that docket. And if the only way that we can get to have these women show themselves up is only by nomination, then why don't we do it? Because we've seen other women who have undergone the same procedure of nomination, who they have come out right now, they've vied for seats and they have gotten it. If only nomination is the only way to unleash the potential of women in this country, if it's the only way to unlock the potential of women in this country, why don't we give it a chance? Because we've seen the people that have given nominations earlier, they've not failed us. They went to parliament, they did this and that have actually gotten us leaders like you, who we are very proud of. And if it's the only way that we are going to get more representation as women in this country, then I say we go for it. I'm proposing that bill. Thank you so much.
Huyu nadhani muongeze kwa bunge aweze kutoa kauli zake jinsi alivyotoa. Nadhani ni jambo ambalo mnaweza kuliangalia. Lakini Millicent Morgan ambaye ni MCA wa kuteuliwa kutoka kaunti ya Tharaka Nithi anasema Kenya is not yet on top of equality. We need to nominate women to enable political patterns growth. Also, most voters are in the rural areas where women are timid, not exposed, and not empowered. When it comes to budgeting, they are not there to give their views, so most projects are male-based. Finally, gender is not women. Soon, the boy child will need this bill. Joe, I think you'll need this bill. In this room.
All right, which is why at this point I'm going to give each of you ladies about a minute to make your best pitch, because we're ending this show.
Sure.
To make your best pitch about why on Wednesday all those people in Parliament, men and women, should vote for this Duale 2 bill, as I have been informed it is now known. So shall we just start in that order? We start from Honorable Nyokabi and all the way up here.
Let me urge the parliamentarians to really pass this bill. The issues of nomination will have to be addressed in a subsequent legislation. At the Gender Commission, we've seen that abuse. 17 counties did not nominate persons with disability, even though the slots are there in the MCA categories. And so there needs to be protection of these seats. But first, you create the space, and then you protect the space that you have created. And really, to continue emphasizing that men and women in leadership of our country would take us much further. It's a twin-engine plane. If the plane moves with one engine, we are never going to get the speed that we need when talent like the one here and the one seated here, if all this talent is not in development, then we are never going to get our development. So wajumbe wote tafadhali, we need their votes. And people should not abscond. Another bad behavior of our men is absconding from parliament. You better even come and be counted. They must not escape from the floor of the house, because that is a constitutional duty.
It's called rejecting bills by not showing up.
By not showing up, yeah.
I may not put my best pitch, but I would want to respond to something that you said about how come does the equation change when you are nominated? Does the violence stop when you are nominated? Or how come do we make it after you are nominated? I will give you from my own personal experience that when I was nominated, the country and my constituency was able to see my best from a safe zone where nobody is fighting me. They were able to see that we have an excellent legislator. But if I had gone direct, I would have been beaten. My bodyguard would have been killed the way he was killed this time. My house would have been burnt the way it was burnt this time. And I would not have had the strength to go through that. But because I was able to do that within a safe space, then I was able to now go and fight it out. It's still not an even platform. We don't normally fight as women. We don't use those tactics that men use. It is still not even, and I therefore want to encourage our brothers, our brothers in Parliament, that it is not about fighting you. Today you may be in Parliament. Next time it may be your daughter, it may be your sister, it may be any of your female relatives. It's not about us. And I'm sure your daughter is not a slave queen, neither is your mother. So please support us.
I'd actually just speak from where Nyokabi and also Honorable Millie have left. Let's have our parliamentarians show up for women who voted for them, show up for their sisters, their daughters. And it's not important that we identify ourselves by our female fraternity to them, but we are human beings who are related to them, and we voted for them. So let them just stand up for the women and girls of Kenya.
Yes, thank you. I want to say to all Kenyans that once or twice or any time, as parents, as sisters, as brothers, we have actually encouraged our children, our aunties, whoever it is, to go for what they want in school or in any field. And mostly, we don't do it, we do it because they are our relatives. But when I look at it from that point of view, we are all advocates of gender. It doesn't matter what gender. So what I want to ask all Kenyans and plead with them, to tell their MPs, members of parliament, to come to the house and vote and be counted among the people that made change in this country. I want to also demystify the fact that people have gone round and said that members of parliament and legislature takes a lot of money and we are overrepresented. There's so much money being used in parliament. They must know that the total budget of this country is 3.2 trillion. And even if we scrapped Senate and Parliament, the entire legislature, we will still have to pay have a 3.1 trillion budget being done. That means Parliament is taking so little. Let us sit down, sit back, think where we went wrong. And I'm looking at public service where we have a 1.5 trillion as a recurrent budget, so that our Kenyans will know that Parliament takes literally almost nothing, 1%. It's not so much to ask. Let them vote. Let us give a chance to our children who may never have gotten up there. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Kihika.
Thank you very much. And also, let me also, as the last one here speaking, also say thank you very much to the participants and for those questions that you brought forward. And as we move along, we shall take that with us, the issues that were raised. So as we approach Wednesday, I am hopeful and I am prayerful and I am hoping that the members of the National Assembly will vote to pass this 2/3 gender bill. I'm sure also once it's passed and it comes to the Senate, as the chief whip, majority whip of the Senate, I am hopeful too that it will pass there, and the response has been very positive. Under Article 27 of the Constitution, there is the principles of equality and non-discrimination, and we know for a long time there has been a lot of discrimination to the female gender of this country. So this bill really is just trying to right a wrong. Yeah, and to also just make sure that the Constitution is itself implemented. So I would urge the members of the National Assembly, especially those who are hesitant on voting for this bill, who have maybe on one hand stated that it will add too much to the wage bill. Like we've had the numbers, really it will add 0.009%. It's negligible. At this point in time, we would require 22 women in the National Assembly. But given the numbers from between the last parliament and this one, there were 16 MPs from the constituencies last time. Now we have 23. So I'm even hopeful we might even have 30 the next time around, so that we may not even need to nominate 22. In the Senate, we only need 2 more. In the last parliament, there was 0 elected senators, women. This time around, we have 3. So we may even have 5 or 7 or even 8. So we may not even need to go that route. But the bill is very important so that we comply with the Constitution. We are a country that follows the law, believes in the law, and as legislators, that is important. So I urge and I ask you all to also help us by maybe texting your members of the National Assembly and asking them, like we stood up for them and with them during the elections in 2017, if they could now stand up and be with us and be counted as they support the women, or rather at this point in time, it's the women of this country, who are 52%, by the way. So thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Senator Kihika, Member of Parliament, Wangoye Ngishiri. We have Teresia Gerichi, sorry. We have Teresia Omondi from FIDA. We have Millie Odhiambo, who is MP for Suba North, and of course Priscilla Nyokavi used to be the member county MP for Nyeri. Thank you very much, ladies, and of course the wonderful audience here. My name is Joe Agayo. It's been lovely being here, and we'll be back next week on Monday with another show just like this one. And my colleague somewhere in the crowd, Mashirima.
I'm right here, Joe, sijajificha sana, lakini pia nashukuru kwa watu ambao wameshiriki, waliotuma jumbe, na nadhani tumepata kujua kuhusiana na mswada huu wa thuluthi mbili, na pia tumeona kuwa kuna wanawake wengi hapa watakuwa wabunge, hata iwapo huo mswada hautapita. Ukipita usipite, wako wengi hapa ambao wanaweza kupata nafasi hizo. Naitwa Mashirima Kapombe na kutakia usiku mwema.